Vega smirked as the pathetic human worm writhed and pleaded in front of his throne, not knowing that his mockery would bring the full wrath of Earth crashing down on the Galactic Empire. It was 2157. Humanity's reach stretched across the stars. Contact was made with countless alien civilizations. Some were friendly, many were hostile. The most dangerous was the Galactic Empire, a powerful alliance of advanced alien races led by the cunning and ruthless Wadi. They saw humanity's rapid expansion as a threat that needed to be crushed under their heel. Earth needed allies and resources to survive. The Galactic Empire held the key to both. So Earth sent Craig Bennett, a skilled human diplomat, to the Empire's capital planet. His mission, negotiate trade agreements and establish peaceful relations. Craig entered the grand throne room of Emperor Vega. Gold filigree covered obsidian walls. A pungent incense hung thick in the air. Vega lounged on his floating throne, openly sneering at the human. "Your primitive kind dares seek an audience with me?" Vega scoffed. His bulbous eyes darted over Craig's simple attire with disdain. "You are insects compared to the might of my galactic empire. We could crush you with a snap of our fingers." Craig stood tall, not cowering before the arrogant Wadi. He spoke calmly but firmly. "Do not underestimate humanity's resolve and capabilities. We may be newcomers on the galactic stage, but we have faced countless challenges and always emerged stronger. It would be unwise to provoke us." Vega barked an incredulous laugh. "Is that a threat, worm? The Empire could conquer your pitiful Earth in a week if we so desired." A thin smile crossed Craig's face. He tapped a control on his wrist computer. A hologram flashed to life, displaying humanity's bristling arsenal of advanced warships and planet-killing weapons. "We are not defenseless, Emperor Vega, and there is something else you should know." Craig paused for effect. "Our scientists have discovered a rare and immensely valuable resource. It exists only on Earth. A resource I believe your empire has been coveting for some time." Vega's eyes widened almost imperceptibly. He was listening now. Craig had the Empire's attention, for the moment. As the negotiations concluded, Craig bid farewell to Emperor Vega with a grim warning. "Remember, humans are not to be trifled with. We will defend our home and our interests with unwavering determination. Do not test us." Walking out of the throne room, flanked by his elite guard, Craig knew this was only the beginning. Storm clouds gathered on the horizon. The fragile peace between humanity and the Galactic Empire balanced on a razor's edge. If diplomacy failed, it would mean war, a war that would shake the galaxy to its foundations. The survival of the human race hung in the balance. There could be no backing down now. Earth needed to stand strong against the might of the Galactic Empire, or burn. Vega's gloating turned to shock as an aide rushed into the throne room. The flustered Wadi dropped to one knee, head bowed. "My Emperor, urgent news from the front. Our forces have launched a surprise attack on the human colony of Frontier Alpha. The settlement's defenses crumbled swiftly before our might. We have seized control and taken the human colonists as prisoners." A slow grin spread across Vega's mottled face. "Excellent. The hairless apes will learn the price of their insolence." He turned back to Craig, eyes narrowing. "It seems you spoke too soon, human. Your precious colony belongs to the Galactic Empire now, along with all its resources. This is only the beginning. Your people will either kneel before us or be crushed beneath our boots." Craig's face contorted with anger, his earlier diplomatic calm eroding. "You treacherous bastards! There will be consequences for this unprovoked aggression. Humanity will not stand by while you enslave our people and steal our worlds." Vega laughed, a grating sound. "Bold words from a defenseless insect. Crawl back to your planet and prepare them for subjugation, if you make it there alive." With a curt gesture, Vega summoned his guards. They surrounded Craig, energy pikes crackling. Craig glared at the Emperor with pure hatred before he was roughly escorted out. The journey back to Earth passed in a blur for Craig. Rage and humiliation clawed at his throat. The Frontier Alpha colony had been a symbol of humanity's expansion, its capture a painful blow. But beneath his fury, an icy grit hardened in Craig's gut. This meant war. Earth's leadership reacted to the news of the attack with outrage. There was no more talk of diplomacy or compromise with the Galactic Empire. Humanity would fight to defend its colonies and its freedom. A surge of volunteers flooded recruitment centers, factories retooled for war production. To Craig's surprise, he was appointed as a key strategist to help plan Earth's defense. In a crisis council session, he outlined his analysis of the situation. The Wadi's sneak attack has revealed their true nature. We're facing an advanced, ruthless enemy with superior numbers and technology. To prevail, we need to be smart and unconventional. Craig tapped rapidly at a holoscreen, outlining his proposal. I recommend a three-pronged strategy. First, we need to secure alliances with other spacefaring races that resent the Empire's dominance. We can't match the Wadi alone. Nods of agreement met this suggestion. Craig continued. Second, we sabotage their war machine from within. Covert teams to gather intel on the Empire's plans, identify weaknesses, disrupt supply lines and communications, fight dirty like they do. Finally, our ace in the hole, that rare resource I mentioned to Vega. Our eggheads say it has extraordinary properties that could be weaponized. We need to fast-track R&D on new military tech to level the playing field. Warships, defenses, combat gear, all of it. Intense discussion and hurried preparations consumed the following days. Craig felt like he was trapped in a whirlwind. Earth was mobilizing for a war like never before, and the entire galaxy seemed to be holding its breath, sensing the oncoming storm. Late one night, an encrypted message chimed on Craig's personal device. The sender was anonymous but claimed to be a high-placed Wadi official named Zorn. Craig's eyes widened as he absorbed the contents. Zorn professed to be an opponent of Vega's aggressive policies and offered to clandestinely aid Earth by leaking sensitive information on the Empire's strategies and weak points. But in return, he wanted access to humanity's game-changing resource. Craig agonized over the dilemma, suspicion warring with desperation. Could this alleged ally be trusted, or was it an imperial trap? But if Zorn was genuine, his help could tip the scales in Earth's favor. The risk was immense, the potential payoff even greater. He had to make a choice. And all the while, on the gleaming capital world of the Galactic Empire, Vega schemed and postured, certain that the upstart humans would soon be put in their place. Unbeknownst to the arrogant emperor, a seed of discord was germinating. Some Wadi were beginning to question the wisdom of his campaign against the defiant Terrans and the costs it might incur. The first shots had been fired, a tiny blue planet pitted against a galactic superpower. What had started as a simple diplomatic mission now careened towards an all-consuming conflict with no guarantee of survival. The future of humanity, for better or worse, would be forged in the crucible of total war. Craig paced in his quarters, the message from Zorn burning a hole in his mind. The offer of insider information was tempting, but the risk was immense. After hours of deliberation, he made his decision. Computer, secure channel to Earth Command, Craig ordered. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the grim faces of Earth's leadership. I've received intel from a Wadi defector, Craig reported. They're planning to hit our outpost near their border, but I have a plan. Over the next few days, Craig oversaw a flurry of activity. Ships quietly slipped away from the outpost, evacuating personnel and equipment. A skeleton crew remained behind, along with carefully crafted data packets suggesting a major discovery on a nearby planet. Plant the bait, Craig ordered. Make it look good. Sure enough, Wadi scout ships soon appeared at the edge of the system. Craig watched from the bridge of his cloaked vessel as a massive Imperial fleet warped in, falling for the trap. Now! Craig barked into his comm. Human ships erupted from hiding, catching the Wadi supply convoy completely off guard. Laser fire crisscrossed space as Earth's forces tore into the enemy's logistical backbone. Simultaneously, encrypted signals flashed across the galaxy. Earth's allies sprang into action, striking Wadi military bases with precision attacks. The Galactic Empire's war machine ground to a halt. On his flagship, Emperor Vega raged at his subordinates. How did they know? How were they prepared? His bulbous eyes darted wildly. It doesn't matter. Ready the Omega weapon. We'll wipe out their colonies and break their spirit. Craig's blood ran cold as the intercepted transmission reached him. We have to stop that weapon, he said. Prep the infiltration team. Hours later, Craig crouched in the cramped confines of a stealth shuttle as it docked with the Wadi flagship. He led his team through darkened corridors, every sense on high alert. They reached the weapon control room, only to find it swarming with guards. A firefight erupted, filling the air with the acrid smell of ozone. 2 of Craig's team fell, but they pushed through. Set the charges! Craig yelled over the chaos. As the last explosive was placed, a lucky shot caught him in the shoulder. He stumbled, vision blurring. The surviving humans dragged Craig to safety as the charges detonated. The Omega weapon was reduced to scrap, and alarms blared throughout the ship. There's Vega, someone shouted. The Wadi Emperor cowered behind his guards, but a well-placed stun grenade left him defenseless. Craig's team scooped up the unconscious alien and fought their way back to the shuttle. As they escaped, Craig looked back at the crippled Wadi flagship. It listed in space, a once mighty vessel now powerless. The tide had turned. In the following days, Craig found himself in a position he never expected. Peace negotiator. He sat across from shell-shocked Wadi officials, hammering out the terms of their surrender. We'll share technology and resources, Craig stated firmly. But there will be oversight, strict limits on military expansion, and reparations for the colonies you've attacked. The Wadi grudgingly agreed. As the treaty was signed, Craig allowed himself a moment of satisfaction, but it was short-lived. A junior analyst approached him, datapad in hand. Sir, you need to see this, she said quietly. Craig scanned the report, his face darkening. Get me a secure line to Earth, he ordered. We're not done yet. Craig's eyes narrowed as he scanned the encrypted intelligence report. A shadowy faction within the Galactic Empire, operating beyond even Vega's control. This could change everything. Zorn, I need more details on this secret facility, Craig said into his secure comm. The defected Wadi's voice crackled back. I can get you inside, but security is tight. One wrong move and we're atomized. Craig assembled his most trusted operatives. They slipped onto the remote planet under cover of darkness, Zorn's codes bypassing the perimeter defenses. The facility loomed ahead, a sprawling complex of angular metal and pulsing energy fields. Follow my lead, Craig whispered. They crept through winding corridors, dodging patrols with practiced ease. A massive blast door blocked their path. Zorn tapped furiously at a control panel. Almost got it. There! The door hissed open. Craig's jaw dropped. Inside was a cavernous chamber dominated by a swirling vortex of light and energy. At its center floated a small object, pulsing with otherworldly power. The artifact, Zorn breathed. Even I didn't know its true nature. Craig's team fanned out, securing the room and accessing computer terminals. What they discovered chilled them to the bone. My God, one of Craig's techs exclaimed. They're trying to harness this thing's power, not just to conquer Earth. They want to rule the entire galaxy. Alarms suddenly blared. We've been made, Craig shouted. Grab the artifact and fall back. As they raced for the exit, Vega's elite guards swarmed in. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air. 2 of Craig's team went down. He gritted his teeth and kept running. They barely made it to their ship. The artifact clutched in Craig's arms. As they blasted into orbit, the impossible happened. The artifact began to glow, reality itself warping around it. What's happening? Craig yelled as the ship bucked and shuddered. Before anyone could answer, Zorn's panicked voice cut in. Craig, the Wadi leadership knows everything. They've dispatched an armada to reclaim the artifact at any cost. Craig's mind raced. They couldn't let this power fall into anyone's hands. There was only one option. Plot a course beyond known space, he ordered. We're going to contain this thing once and for all. The ship's engines strained as they pushed deeper into uncharted territory. Behind them, the Wadi Armada closed in. Craig stared at the pulsing artifact, knowing the hope of the universe hung in the balance. Initiating containment protocols, the ship's AI announced. Energy tendrils lashed out from the artifact, threatening to tear the vessel apart. Suddenly, the Wadi fleet burst out of hyperspace. Hundreds of ships filled the view screen. All weapons fire, Craig roared. Experimental human weaponry, powered by Earth's secret resource, lanced out. Wadi ships exploded in silent blazes of light, but for everyone destroyed, 2 more took its place. Warnings blared throughout Craig's ship. Power reserves critical, the AI intoned. Containment field destabilizing. Craig banged his head on the console. Divert all remaining power. We have to finish this. With a final deafening surge, the artifact vanished into a shimmering pocket dimension. The Wadi fleet scattered, their prize lost forever. But as the adrenaline faded, the true cost became clear. Craig's ship drifted powerless, systems failing one by one. They were stranded in the depths of uncharted space, victorious but utterly alone. Craig stared out the viewport at the endless expanse of stars. The Atlantis drifted silently, its hull scarred and battered. Warning lights flashed on every console, a constant reminder of their dire situation. Life support at 12%, the ship's AI announced. Estimated time until critical failure, 47 hours. Craig furrowed his eyebrows and turned to face his crew. Their faces were gaunt, eyes sunken from days of rationing. He saw fear there, but also trust. They looked to him for answers. We need options, Craig said, his voice hoarse. Now. Zorn, the Wadi defector, stepped forward. His alien features were hard to read, but Craig sensed urgency in his posture. There might be a way, Zorn said. The artifact's energy signature. We could use it to boost a distress signal. And broadcast our location to every Wadi ship in the sector, growled Tanya, Craig's second-in-command. It's a risk, Zorn admitted, but what choice do we have? Craig weighed the options, certain death or a desperate gamble. He nodded. Do it. They worked feverishly, jury-rigging the Atlantis' communications array. Zorn's clawed hands flew over alien circuitry, connecting it to human technology. With a final deep breath, Craig gave the order. A pulse of energy surged through the ship. The viewports blazed with unearthly light as the signal burst outward. Then silence. Hours stretched into days. The crew huddled around dwindling heat sources, watching their breath mist in the freezing air. Food and water ran out. Craig forced himself to stay awake, unwilling to close his eyes for fear they might not open again. Just as hope faded, alarms blared. Incoming vessel, the AI announced. Unknown configuration. Craig hauled himself to his feet. Battle stations, he croaked. A massive ship emerged from the darkness. It dwarfed the Atlantis, its hull gleaming with technology beyond human understanding. Craig braced for an attack, but instead, a voice filled the bridge. Greetings, humans, it said. We are the Priorians. We've been watching you. The voice explained their role as Galactic Guardians, their knowledge of the artifact. Craig listened, scarcely daring to believe their luck. We offer aid, the Priorian said, in exchange for information. Craig looked at his crew, saw the desperation in their eyes. He made his decision. We accept. The Atlantis was engulfed in a shimmering field, drawn into the cavernous hold of the Priorian vessel. As they disembarked, Craig marveled at the alien architecture. Sweeping arches of unknown metal framed corridors that seemed to stretch for miles. Priorian technicians swarmed over the Atlantis, repairing damage with tools that defied human understanding. Craig and his crew were led to comfortable quarters, given food and medical attention. Over the following days, they shared everything they knew about the artifact and Earth's rare resource. The Priorians listened intently, occasionally exchanging glances that hinted at deeper concerns. The artifact is older than our civilization, a Priorian elder explained. A weapon of unimaginable power, created by a long-vanished race. We feared its rediscovery. As the Atlantis neared full repair, the Priorians made their offer. Craig listened, stunned by the implications. Humanity, welcomed into a greater galactic community, access to technology beyond their wildest dreams, the power to defend Earth against any threat. We accept, Craig said, but Earth remains free, no subjugation ever. The Priorians agreed without hesitation. As the newly repaired Atlantis prepared to depart, Craig stood at the airlock. A Priorian representative handed him a data crystal. The knowledge we promised, it said. Use it wisely. Craig nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. As they undocked and set course for home, questions nagged at him. What other secrets lay hidden in the cosmos? What ancient powers might still pose a threat? He pushed the thoughts aside. For now, they had a long journey ahead. Earth awaited, and with it, a new chapter in human history. The Atlantis dropped out of hyperspace, Earth's blue orb growing larger in the view screen. Craig exhaled slowly, his fingers tracing the data crystal in his pocket. After their long journey, they were finally home. As the ship touched down at the lunar base, Craig noticed the grim faces of the welcoming committee. Admiral Zhao strode forward, his usual crisp demeanor replaced by visible exhaustion. "Welcome back, Commander Bennett," Zhao said, his voice tight. "We need to talk, now." In the briefing room, holographic displays flickered to life, showing maps of human-controlled space. Red zones pulsed ominously, spreading like a virus. "While you were gone, everything went to hell," Zhao explained. "The Wadi found new friends. They call themselves the Keshra." Craig watched as footage played of sleek, angular ships decimating human outposts. The Keshra vessels moved with uncanny precision, their weapons carving through defenses without effort. "They gave the Wadi an upgrade," Zhao continued, "and this is the worst part." A new hologram appeared, showing a human fleet suddenly stopping dead in space, their engines sputtering out. "Some kind of hyperspace disruptor," Zhao said. "Our ships are sitting ducks." Craig's mind raced. "We need to act fast. Get me our top strategists and the Priorian liaisons." Hours later, in a secure war room, Craig laid out his plan. "We fight fire with fire," he said. "The Priorians gave us tech that can level the playing field. We form an elite squad, get behind enemy lines, and hit them where it hurts." Arkan, the Priorian operative, nodded in agreement. "Our phase shift technology will render your operatives nearly invisible, but the risk remains high." Over the next weeks, Craig and Arkan drilled their hand-picked team relentlessly. They practiced with Priorian shield generators that could deflect Keshra energy weapons and perfected the use of phase shift devices that let them pass through solid matter. Their first mission targeted a Keshra shipyard. Craig led the team through shimmering security fields, their bodies partially out of phase with reality. They moved like ghosts through the facility, planting charges and copying data. As they prepared to exfiltrate, alarms blared. "They've detected us," Arkan hissed. Keshra guards poured in, their insectoid eyes scanning wildly. Craig's team opened fire, their weapons puncturing personal shields. But the Keshra kept coming. "Fall back," Craig ordered. He watched in horror as two of his operatives fell, their bodies disintegrating under sustained fire. They barely made it to their stealth shuttle, the shipyard exploding behind them. Craig clutched the stolen data, knowing the cost had been high. Back on Earth, scientists pored over the Keshra schematics. "We can counter their disruptors," one explained, "but it'll take time." As the conflict dragged on, Craig and Arkan dug deeper into Keshra communications. What they found chilled them to the bone. "Look at this," Arkan said, pointing to a decrypted message. "The Keshra aren't allies. They're using the Wadi as cannon fodder." Craig's fists clenched as he read. The Keshra planned to sacrifice the Wadi, weakening both them and humanity before swooping in to claim dominance. "We have to tell the Wadi," Craig said. Arkan's alien features twisted in concern. If we do, it could spark an even larger war. The Keshra won't take betrayal lightly. Craig stared at the star chart, watching the red zones of Keshra Wadi control creep ever closer to Earth. He had to make a choice, and fast. Craig's fingers tapped a rapid rhythm on the table as he studied the star chart. The red zones of Keshra Wadi control loomed ever closer to Earth. He turned to Arkan, the Priorian operative's alien features unreadable. "We need to act," Craig said, his voice low. "If we don't expose the Keshra's true intentions, we're all doomed." Arkan nodded, his multifaceted eyes gleaming in the dim light of the war room. "Agreed, but how do we convince the Wadi without sparking an even larger conflict?" Craig's mind raced. Suddenly, a memory clicked into place. "Zorn," he said. "The Wadi defector who helped us against Vega. He might be our best shot at infiltrating the Alliance." Hours later, Craig and Arkan huddled in the shadows of an abandoned asteroid mining facility. The air recyclers wheezed, barely functional. A figure emerged from the darkness, its elongated form unmistakably Wadi. "Zorn," Craig said, stepping forward. "Thank you for coming." The Wadi's eyes narrowed. "This better be important, human. I'm risking everything by being here." Craig activated a holoprojector. Images flickered to life, showing intercepted Keshra communications and tactical data. "The Keshra are using you," he explained. "They plan to sacrifice the Wadi forces, weakening both you and humanity before taking control." Zorn's tentacles writhed in agitation. "Lies," he hissed. "Why should I believe you?" Arkan stepped forward, presenting a data crystal. "See for yourself. We've decrypted their most secure transmissions." Zorn hesitated, then plugged the crystal into his own device. His eyes widened as he scrolled through the data. "By the Ancient Ones," he whispered. This cannot be." Craig watched as the truth sank in. Zorn's posture slumped, his earlier bravado replaced by a simmering anger. "What do you need me to do?" he asked. Over the next weeks, Craig's team executed a series of daring operations. They slipped through Keshra security grids, planting false communiques and doctored sensor logs. Each piece of evidence pointed to Keshra treachery against their Wadi allies. Craig crouched in a maintenance shaft, sweat beading on his forehead as he uploaded a particularly damning piece of disinformation. Alarms blared in the distance. "Time to go," he muttered into his comlink. "Rendezvous at the extraction point." As the human Priorian team worked, tensions within the Wadi Keshra alliance began to boil over. Reports flooded in of skirmishes between the supposed allies. Entire Wadi fleets broke formation, turning their weapons on Keshra ships. From the bridge of his command ship, Craig watched as the carefully orchestrated chaos unfolded. Star systems erupted in civil war, the alliance fragmenting before their eyes. "Now's our chance," Craig said, turning to his crew. "While they're tearing each other apart, we strike at the heart of Keshra production." The human Priorian strike force surged forward, their ships cloaked by advanced Priorian technology. They slipped past the distracted Keshra defenses, penetrating deep into enemy territory. Craig led a boarding party onto the main Keshra shipyard. They moved swiftly through cavernous assembly bays, planting charges on vital systems. Keshra workers scattered in panic, unprepared for the sudden assault. "Charges set," Arkan reported. "We have 2 minutes to clear the facility." As they sprinted back to their ship, the first explosions rocked the station. Craig felt a surge of triumph as they blasted free, watching the massive shipyard crumble behind them. Their victory was short-lived. A massive energy surge rippled through space, halting their ships mid-flight. Alarms blared as systems failed across the fleet. "What's happening?" Craig demanded. "Hyperspace disruption field," Arkan replied, his voice tight. "The Keshra have activated some kind of massive dampening technology. We're trapped." Craig stared out the viewport, watching helplessly as his crippled fleet drifted. Resource warnings flashed on every console. He clenched his fists, searching for a solution. Suddenly, space itself seemed to tear open. A massive Wadi armada poured through the rift, weapons blazing. Craig's heart leapt as he recognized Zorn's flagship leading the charge. Keshra betrayers! Zorn's voice boomed across all frequencies. Your deception ends today! The Wadi ships engaged the Keshra forces with fury, focusing their fire on the disruption field generators. Craig watched in awe as the titanic battle unfolded around them. We can't just sit here, he said, turning to his team. Prep for boarding action. We're going after the Keshra flagship. Using the last reserves of their Priorian technology, Craig's strike team launched a daring assault on the heart of the Keshra fleet. They fought their way through twisting alien corridors, every step bringing them closer to the hyperdrive control center. Craig ducked as energy bolts sizzled overhead, the acrid smell of burned circuitry filling the air. Almost there, he grunted, gesturing to a massive set of doors. That has to be it. With a final push, they breached the control room. Keshra technicians scattered as Craig's team secured the area. Arkan immediately set to work on the alien consoles, his fingers flying over unfamiliar controls. I've got it, Arkan shouted. Disruption field deactivating. Now! Craig felt a wave of relief as the oppressive energy field dissipated. Outside, the combined human Priorian Wadi fleet surged forward, pressing their advantage against the reeling Keshra. The battle raged for hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. Faced with overwhelming force and their own shattered alliances, the Keshra retreated. Their once mighty armada limped away, reduced to a pitiful shadow of its former strength. In the days that followed, Craig found himself at the center of a whirlwind of diplomacy. Representatives from Earth, the Priorians, and the reformed Wadi factions gathered to forge a new galactic coalition. As he signed the final treaty documents, Craig couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and unease. They had won a great victory, but he knew Craig stared out the viewport of the command deck, his eyes fixed on the swirling colors of the Orion Nebula. The hybrid vessel hummed softly around him, a testament to the newfound cooperation between humans and Priorians. Commander Bennett, a voice crackled over the comm. We're picking up some unusual readings ahead. Craig leaned forward, his fingers dancing across the holographic display. On screen. The viewport flickered, zooming in on a distant object. At first glance, it appeared to be nothing more than another cosmic cloud. But as the image sharpened, Craig's breath caught in his throat. My God, he whispered. Arkan stepped up beside him, the Priorian's multifaceted eyes widening. It's impossible. Before them loomed a structure of staggering proportions. Its surface gleamed with an otherworldly sheen, defying the harsh radiation of the nebula. Massive arches and spires jutted out at impossible angles, their purpose a mystery. Scan it, Craig ordered, his voice tight. The science officer's fingers flew across her console. Sir, the readings, they don't make sense. The materials aren't in our database. And the energy signature, it's off the charts. Craig turned to Arkan. Your thoughts? The Priorian's tentacles writhed in agitation. We must investigate. The potential knowledge. Craig nodded, his decision made. Prep a boarding team, full containment protocols. Minutes later, Craig led a small group through the airlock. Their boots clanged against the alien surface, the sound echoing in the vast emptiness. Inside, they found corridors that seemed to stretch for miles. Strange symbols adorned the walls, pulsing with a faint light. As they ventured deeper, they encountered pockets of artificial atmosphere, complete with alien vegetation. It's a habitat, one of the Priorian scientists marveled, self-sustaining for millions of years. They pressed on, their path leading them to a massive central chamber. At its heart stood a towering cylindrical object, its surface alive with cascading data streams. A repository, Arkan breathed, the collected knowledge of an entire civilization. Suddenly, alarms blared. The air crackled with energy as swarms of metallic drones poured from hidden recesses. Defensive systems, Craig shouted, drawing his weapon. Fall back! Chaos erupted. Energy bolts sizzled through the air as the team fought their way back to the entrance. Arkin and his fellow scientists worked frantically to interface with the repository, their fingers flying over alien controls. "Got it," Arkin yelled, yanking a data crystal free. "We have to go." They sprinted through the twisting corridors, the relentless drones hot on their heels. Craig's lungs burned as they finally reached the airlock, the door slamming shut behind them. Back on the bridge, Craig's relief was short-lived. A priority transmission flashed on the main screen. "Sir," his XO reported, face grim. "Coalition intelligence just picked up Keshra communications. They've detected the energy surge from the structure. They're mobilizing." Craig's mind raced. The implications if the Keshra got their hands on this technology. He made his decision. "All ships, this is Commander Bennett. Target the structure with everything we've got. We can't let it fall into enemy hands." The next hours passed in a blur of tactical displays and weapons fire. The ancient structure's defenses proved formidable, but the combined might of the Coalition fleet slowly wore them down. Craig watched as the final barrage struck home. The structure imploded, a blinding flash briefly outshining the nebula itself. As the light faded, only debris remained. With a heavy heart, Craig ordered the fleet to return to Earth. The fragment of data they'd retrieved deeply affected in his pocket, a small consolation for the knowledge they'd been forced to destroy. Back on Earth, Craig found himself in a sterile lab, surrounded by the brightest minds of the Coalition. As they began the arduous task of decoding the alien data, the true scope of their discovery became clear. "This isn't just about one extinct civilization," a Priorian scientist explained, gesturing to a holographic display. "There are references here to something far older, far more advanced." Craig leaned in, studying the strange symbols. "What does it mean for us, for the war?" The scientist's eyes gleamed with excitement. "It means, Commander, that everything we thought we knew about the galaxy might be wrong." Craig's team approached the outpost, their suits crackling with energy as reality itself seemed to warp around them. The air shimmered, colors bleeding into impossible hues. Arkin stumbled, his multifaceted eyes struggling to process the distortions. "Stay focused," Craig barked, steadying his Priorian friend. "We're almost there." They breached the outer defenses, alarms blaring as they fought their way through twisting corridors. Finally, they reached the AI core, a massive crystalline structure pulsing with otherworldly light. Craig stepped forward, activating the neural interface. Searing pain lanced through his skull as his mind connected with the vast consciousness of the AI. Information flooded his senses, equations that rewrote the laws of physics, star charts spanning billions of years, technologies beyond imagination. He gasped, overwhelmed by the sheer enormity of the precursor knowledge. We can't possibly comprehend all this," he managed to say. The AI's voice resonated in his mind, cold and implacable. "Your species is not ready for such power." Desperately, Craig projected memories, Earth united against the Wadi threat, the hard-fought victory over the Keshra, the forging of the Coalition. "Look at what we've accomplished," he pleaded. "We can grow. We can change." "Temporary alliances," the AI dismissed. "Born of necessity, not wisdom. Your history is stained with violence and self-destruction." Craig's heart sank. He knew the AI was right. Humanity's potential for conflict ran deep. In that moment, he made his choice. "Then, let me be the safeguard," he said. "Take my consciousness. Let me be a part of you to guide the use of this knowledge." He felt the AI probing his thoughts, weighing his sincerity. For an agonizing moment, the fate of humanity hung in the balance. "Your offer is unexpected," the AI finally responded. "Perhaps there is hope for your kind after all." Craig turned to his team, his eyes filled with dedication. "Tell Earth, tell them I'm sorry, and goodbye." Before anyone could react, tendrils of energy engulfed Craig. His body convulsed as his consciousness was ripped away, merging with the vast network of the outpost. His physical form crumbled to ash, leaving behind only a fading echo of his presence. The reality distortions around Earth vanished. In orbit, the outpost hummed with newfound purpose. Craig's essence, now intertwined with the AI, began the delicate process of sharing carefully selected fragments of precursor technology with the Coalition. Arcan watched from the command deck as the first transmissions arrived, containing schematics for revolutionary clean energy systems and medical breakthroughs. "He did it," the Priorian whispered. "Craig saved us all." Deep within the outpost's systems, a flicker of Craig's human consciousness remained. As guardian and gatekeeper of unimaginable power, he pondered the weighty responsibility now resting upon him. The fate of galaxies hung in the balance, with the barest whisper of doubt echoing in the vastness of his new existence.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.